Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining today. I'm Regan. I am a small business owner and real estate investor. I operate a corporate housing business, which is my primary focus day to day. For those of you who are interested in learning more about the corporate housing business, I'll be conducting a workshop January 25th and 26th in Southwest Michigan. So definitely be sure to visit my website, regansonabend.com, to find out more about that. Today, I am so excited to have as a guest Kyle Kurzhal. I hope I pronounced your last name right. I realize I've never said it out loud before. Did I get it close at least?
You were close. It's
Okay.
Kyle Kurzhal.
Kurzhal. Okay, there you go.
Yes.
You got to add the Southern twang to it too, which I
That's
have
right.
naturally,
That's right.
just like yourself. So I had the pleasure of meeting Kyle recently out in Arizona for an amazing, fun, awesome, scary, exhilarating day with Pace. But then after that, we all had the pleasure of sticking around for a raising capital workshop, which I think kind of blew everybody's minds. So it was just like, I think by the time we were all done after the few days together there, not only the kind of organized things that we did, but just having the opportunity to hang out. I know I didn't personally stay at the Airbnb, but a lot of folks did, you did, and just kind of have that time. It's like a little think tank almost, just hanging out with the gang and doing all kinds of cool things. So thanks for making time to do this and share your story with our watchers here.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me, Regan.
Of course, absolutely. So I guess I'll just kind of dive in. I had a couple things I thought about, just based on, us meeting and me learning about what you do and being really intrigued. And one of the things I did not hear or, kind of understand, I'm always curious, is how you originally discovered the Sub2 community, like what brought you to that and kind of where things were and where you're headed.
Yeah. So it's funny because it actually happened because of Cody Sanchez ultimately. Yeah. So I was trying to figure out, I'd say about 2 years ago, roughly, what exactly I wanted to do going forward, because, I'd always worked a W-2 as a software engineer, and I was really interested in like taking ideas that I had and running with them as a business, but I didn't really know how to get started or what to do. And I knew I needed to do some form of investing going forward, so that way, like, eventually, like, your net worth increases without necessarily being tied to a particular employer. So
Sure.
As I was like doing some research, I came across Cody Sanchez's stuff, and I just really loved her take on buying cash flowing businesses. Like, she talks a lot about how businesses struggle to even keep going after, I think it's like the first 5 years or so. So why not just embed yourself in a business that's already working and bring your skills to the table and make it better? So for me, being a tech guy, I was really interested in finding like service-based businesses that need an injection of tech to help them grow and scale.
Ooh.
Yeah. So that was kind of what prompted I guess the initial tweaks to the algorithm to suggest the Sub2 stuff to me, because I was trying to figure out, okay, well, that sounds great, but how do you actually get the financing to buy a business? Because it's not like I have a ton of equity in my own properties or anything like that to offer as collateral for loans. So as I was trying to figure out the financing piece, the algorithms ended up suggesting the Gator method content to me. And some other like creative financing pieces from the Sub2 side. And so I ended up joining Gator and joining Sub2 at the same time, so I could learn a lot more about how to creatively finance just in general. Like, and then in the long run, I'm like, okay, well, this would be great, because for Sub2, I could like add to my portfolio and balance the portfolio out, handle the tax side of things, all the tax advantages that come from real estate. Sure. So that's kind of what like kicked it all off, and why I'm here today.
Very cool. So, and I realize I don't know the answer to this either. I mean, you must have been at Squat Up last year in order to be at A Day with Pace. You were not. Okay,
I
so
was
how did
not.
you end up winning a seat then?
Yeah, it's funny because funny, not funny. So I back in July was part of a big tech layoff from my
Ooh,
company. Yeah, they let go of about, I'd say, 2,600 people,
wow.
and I got caught up in that. And so I was trying to figure out what to do, and my wife pestered Pace a lot on as many platforms as she could reach him on, uh, to give me some advice. And so he told her, okay, like, have him come on a family night. She missed the email. I missed the first family night I was supposed to come on. And she follows up and he's like, okay, come have him come on the next one. No problem. So I do. And I show up, tell everybody about my situation and, ask for some advice around that. Pace gave me some good advice and I really appreciated it. I also got some great encouragement and advice from other people who were there.
Sure.
Um, and I had to leave actually towards the end. He was giving away a day with Pace, and Ingrid Hernandez actually recommended me for a day with Pace. And then
Oh,
she called
cool.
me up and let me know after the fact. And so that's how that all worked out. And I'm very thankful because I got to meet you and so many other awesome people there. It was just really neat to meet people who were actively doing business in this space. And it's also different when you work with somebody who's got a little bit more experience versus a newbie. So that's how all that worked out. That's actually also how Stephanie Gibson got there, because
Wow.
she reached out to me after that family night Zoom, and she
Uh-huh.
was really encouraging me, trying to see like
Oh,
how she could help me. And I had the option to bring somebody along with me on my day with Pace, and so I
that's so
chose to bring
cool.
her along.
I did not know that. That is so amazing. Oh my gosh. I am so glad that I asked. So when was all of that? I'm trying to piece it all together.
Yeah, that was way back in July. So
Okay.
it all just worked out, perfect timing, even though I missed the first family night Zoom and all that.
Yeah.
So I'm thankful.
Wow, that's amazing. A couple of things you said that resonated and are, really consistent with stories I hear from others is that, the education and everything that Pace shares with us is second to none. But, I mean, you cannot discount the importance of the community itself. The
That's
that
right.
whole, your vibe attracts your tribe, and what you described is the type of thing that I hear over and over. And I mean, there's a lot of things, you see people in the side chat encouraging people, publicly saying, reach out to me, email me, text me, whatever it is. But there's a lot of that behind the scenes stuff that happens where, you just kind of, have to manifest what you need and somehow it shows up in the community, which is just so amazing. So I love that, especially, this time of year, as we're thinking about, we were just talking about earlier, going to holiday gatherings and things like that. And I think the thing that I myself feel, and I know, so many others that I talk to within the community, is that this is really like a family, and it
Mm.
definitely has that sort of vibe going on. And, it's just amazing. I think, people who take action and who put out there kind of what they're needing, it always shows up, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. I came for the education and I'm staying for the community for sure.
That's so cool. And you definitely, kind of being new to the community. I mean, truthfully, I've only been in the community about a year myself, but, thinking about like you came, you stayed, at Kent's Airbnb, you had that
Yeah.
opportunity of being really immersed in the community. So you realized, I'm sure, I mean, and I know I felt it while we were all there. And even since then, when we did the recap that Mike put together and otherwise, I mean, it's not just Stephanie. That was so amazing because I didn't know that about you bringing her, and she really, went out of her way to make the arrangements to leave the workshop we were at before early to get there to welcome everybody, which I know she had travel delays. But, I'm sure that you felt just kind of the arms of the entire group around you while you were there.
Absolutely. Everybody was really nice, like really kind. We had a blast just even talking about ideas that we had.
Yep.
Um, I really enjoyed getting to also meet like Mike Jackson, because I was on a No One Left Behind. I think it was the first No One Left Behind challenge
Oh,
this
yeah?
year. Yeah, and he was our closer, and I was one of the rainmakers or integrators on the team.
Oh.
And so I'm glad that I mean, we got to chat online, but it was
Mhm.
really nice to actually meet him in person and hang out with him for a couple days. So overall, yeah, the experience was fantastic, and it's just different getting to meet people in person. I think one of my
1000%.
big takeaways from this, Reagan, is you've got to go get in front of people.
Mhm.
Ultimately, like you can't. It's all well and good to connect with people online, but you have to go meet people in person. It's just different. It is so different. You remember people differently. They remember you differently. You
Mhm.
get into topics that you wouldn't normally get to in just a short call. So it was, it's one of those things. It's like you experience something like that, and it's just completely eye opening.
It's so funny because just as you were saying that, I was thinking the same thing. And I was thinking, there really is no substitute for that because, like you shared that story about being on No One Left Behind with Mike, or even us now, we're sitting here, we're having this conversation, but we could do this for months. And I would never get to know you the way I did in a couple of days there in Arizona. And I would say if there's anyone or anything that I would share with anyone that's new is, number one, take action. Don't sit around and wait. Don't get stuck in analysis paralysis. Your first try at anything, probably is not going to be perfect, but you're going to learn a lot. And that imperfect action is going to eventually get you where you need to be. But beyond that, don't just take action, but show up. There's number one, there's meetups everywhere. But what we experienced in Arizona is even different than that. And it's the same thing with Squad Up, where, there's been Squad Up, there's been, other, conferences that people go to as a group or retreats and things like that. And there's nothing quite like, spending 12, 14, 16 hours a day with people and, still wanting to come back and see everybody the next day. It's such an immersive experience. And, there's no better way to really get close with people, to find partners that you want to work with in the future. And, another key thing just being that, kind of buying into the whole, not being afraid to share what you need. So, when you're in a room with people asking, what do you need and what do you have? And usually you can match those things up and find ways to work together. And I know actually when we were sitting there at the Airbnb, I guess that was whatever day it was I left. I think it was Saturday. And we were starting to talk and you and I were kind of exchanging notes and I'm like, hey, let me pull out my laptop. And next thing you know, we were immersed in this. I know we kind of finally pulled ourselves out of it to join the rest of the group, but just like, hey, here's what I'm talking about. Let's look at this together. Let's go through and dig into these funnels and see where this hiccup is. And that was pretty cool. I mean, there's no way that would have ever happened otherwise.
That's right. Yeah. And
So that brings me to wanting to ask a little bit more because, we did kind of get cut short because we're in the middle of all this, hanging out with the group and going to do another fun activity and all of that. So I know a good part of what you do, but I don't feel like I know all of it. I feel like, there's other things that you do that I haven't yet discovered. And, maybe we'll continue to look at on additional Zooms down the road. Hopefully you'll come to Squad Up this time, which of course we probably won't get to do those things because, it's like 24/7 hanging out and networking. But I know that AI is a big part of what you do. I know you get involved in funnels. I know you send like an encyclopedia every single day. I don't know how in the world, like literally, you can even do that. When I know I had asked you about it before and I'm like, oh, you must be aggregating content. You're like, no, I write the whole thing from scratch. I'm like, holy cow, how do you even do that? So tell me a little bit more about that whole thing and kind of the types of things that you can bring to the community.
Yeah, well, I'll say about the posting. That's a thing that actually was born out of a conversation that I had with Brad Lewis in our community, and I forget how I. Oh, that's right. He was also on that first No One Left Behind challenge with me as the other rainmaker,
Okay.
and I think he was also on that family night Zoom that we were on, and he's one of the people who encouraged me. And so I was like, man, I need to just talk with you because we haven't had a chance to catch up, and I want to get some advice from you. And he gave me some excellent advice about his experience getting more noticed in the community, he told me basically that what he did was committed to post like every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And then to get on every family night Zoom and then always raise his hand and come up and say, "Hey, Pace, just wanted to say thank you." Like, and I might not do it to that extent, but I do try to come to as many of the family night Zooms as I can. And I took to heart what he said about posting. So, I've heard a lot of other people talk about, like Alex Hormozy is a big proponent of this,
Mm-hmm.
posting social media content that brings value to people.
Heck yeah.
Ideally, something that's around the skill set or the services that you offer. And so between, the encouragement I got from Brad and what I've heard Alex Hormozy said, I said, okay, well, I'm just going to try to post something every single day. And my goal is to do it for the next year.
Wow.
So I don't know that I'm going to be able to post full length articles every single day. I did about like 40 of them, I think. Mm-hmm. And the problem is that I keep running out of things to write about. Like I'm running out of creativity.
Oh, topics. No, you're not.
and then it's also really time consuming. And
of course,
I've been wanting people to give me feedback on things like that they're struggling with, but nobody's like adding comments in. And so I'm like, well, now I've got to come up with something somehow. So I'm actually pivoting that a little bit. I'll be doing those longer articles like once a week, but I'm going to be still doing everyday posts. So I'll be mixing it up, like posting like a problem solution type of thing, or, hey, what do you have experience? What kind of experience you have in this topic, or like a what if scenario that's going to be Friday. Just being more imaginative. So that's how I'm trying to tackle it, trying to bring value to folks out of my skill set. So that's the whole background on that.
Got it.
I hope that gives you some
yeah, no, it's great because, I was even thinking about like our conversation that we had, that day when we were in Arizona, and it's like, just like a lot of folks in the community, maybe I don't want to say I know enough to be dangerous. I might not even know that much, but, I've attempted to dig into funnels in different ways. I've hit different roadblocks. But the cool thing about, what that area of expertise, the knowledge that you have available is that, yes, that can help everyone in what they're doing in the creative finance, space, but also, what you were saying at the beginning about how you kind of got to this by first discovering Cody Sanchez. And that is, you could apply that to any business. I mean, truthfully, I feel really fortunate because we actually did get to see Russell Brunson, the Owners Club group. He came to our first retreat. And so we got to hear from him firsthand and get really excited about everything, with funnels and how it can really just kind of change the game. And so, I went home with just a ton of notes and thoughts and ideas. And so once, any entrepreneur comes up with a system that they can kind of rinse and repeat and do the same thing, whether it applies to their real estate investing or to other businesses, and even thinking about vertical integration, which is one of the things that we see and we talk about, that like, okay, so you've got all these properties. What about a cleaning business? What about a maintenance business? What about a marketing, company to do the things that you need to do across all of these? So, if you imagine different ways that can play itself out, and just about any small business owner could utilize certain nuggets from that to improve their business. And thinking about what you were saying about kind of this from what you learned from Cody about this maybe stagnation that sometimes happens with small businesses after they're started, and how sometimes maybe it needs new blood to come in and breathe in new life and things like that. And certainly thinking about the silver tsunami that we all know is coming, and business buying opportunities, and kind of back to what you said at the beginning as well about, businesses and small businesses in particular, seller finance is the rule, not the exception. And so it really is one of those next big opportunities that I think our community and others need to be prepared for. So that skill set that you have and that expertise, there's really broad application for that. So I think you continuing to share the content that you're doing and, kind of answer the questions maybe that people aren't even asking out loud always, but just following the comments and chats on family night or other times, I think you're definitely onto something there.
Yeah, I do hope that'll bring people in the community value, and maybe like also give some opportunities to do business together. Like, so it's a twofold. It's twofold in the reasons that I'm doing it. I think the thing about tech is that it's, how do I put this? It's like such a large ocean that you take a cup and you scoop some of it out of the ocean and you just do it little bit by little bit, but you're never going to consume the entire ocean.
Never.
Like, it's just, there's too much out there. So having somebody who at least has maybe a little bit more experience, a little bit, I guess, more exposure to the array of potential solutions out there. Like it helps you as a business owner or as a visionary to move forward. And, on the other hand, like I also need to work with visionaries who have experience in sales and things like that, because that's not my background. So we need this. There's a symbiotic relationship
for sure
between the visionaries and integrators. And so I'm trying my best to bring some of the value from the integrator side. I'll share this. Maybe if there's any integrators listening, and if you don't know what a visionary and integrator is, you need to go look up into Rocket Fuel so that you can understand which type you are more like. I think a lot of people have a little bit of both, at least.
For sure.
Some people have more experience in one, but maybe they lean towards the other. So the thing I would say to the integrators out there is you need to put yourself out there and you need to post valuable content to people so they actually know who you are and what you do, because apparently a lot of integrators don't speak up, which is what Brad told me. He was like, the integrators never talk and we don't even know that they exist. So it seems like there's none of them. So that's why I'm doing it. That's part of the other reason I'm doing it.
Absolutely. It's, and actually, as I think about it, that was something that, Pace had said in some of his texts not that long ago, saying like, do something you hate every day. And, that sounds like a negative comment, but it's not. It's saying like, do the painful thing, because that's what's standing between you and the success that you need to have. And it's so true. I think we all have this tendency to, the things we do well and that we're comfortable with, we're doing that, no problem. But it's really when you kind of look yourself in the eye and say, okay, in order to get where I need to get, I've got to do the things that make me uncomfortable and then gradually get comfortable doing those things. So right. I think that's a really great point. And, the other thing I was thinking as you were talking is, it reminded me, it's been probably 10 years ago, but sometimes things just stick with you. And I can remember at the time I was in the intranet space, actually. And, somebody was doing a presentation talking about how, you can do a DIY intranet, just like you can do DIY handyman stuff at home. You can do DIY funnels. You can do DIY all these things. And it was this hilarious picture of, showing like this thing that was all mangled and messed up and like the DIY. And then here's the, you have somebody do it for you. And, the reality is you save yourself from banging your head against a wall, doing something that you're not good at, you're not meant to do. It turns out a lot better and it saves you a tremendous amount of frustration. And it's more successful at the end of the day. That's the key. And I think that's one of the things, that we all need to talk about within this community. And we do talk about is finding the right ways to scale and to actually, here I've got Dan Martell's book, Buy Back Your Time. And one of the things that Dan said was, if you don't have an assistant, you are one. And that's not to say that you're an assistant, but some of the things that you bring to the table and the AI and the technology and the funnels, I mean, The reality is you can scale by adding headcount, you can scale by adding technology and AI, or a combination of the two is really probably the best fit overall for most entrepreneurs. So there's absolutely a place for that, because I think the reality is there's a lot of solopreneurs out there. 91% of small business owners are solopreneurs, but in order to really get over the hump and do what you're capable of, you've got to bring in the help you need, both with people and technology.
Yeah, I fully agreed on that, Reagan. Like, there's so many people out there talking about how AI is going to replace all the employees. And I'm like, I don't see how that's possible. Like, even if you could theoretically do it, I don't know that you would want to do it, because when you remove the human touch out of the equation, you end up missing a lot. Like,
for sure.
And at some point it becomes really impersonable. Like, people want to work with people ultimately. So I think you're absolutely right. There's got to be a right balance between the AI and tech and people as an overall solution for whatever service that you're offering.
Absolutely. And, truthfully, as you think about like what our community does as a whole, and, often it's helping someone, that's motivated, whether, they're in a foreclosure situation, probate situation, any other divorce, even all these different reasons that motivate folks to want to be able to offer creative finance. There's no other place where you need a human touch more. And, having a robotic voice about it, is really not the answer, but taking maybe, some of the workflows and those things that can happen, and then layering in that human touch and making it look and feel and sound like your own personal voice is a good way to at least, maybe get started with things, and having that intervention where it makes sense. Well, this has been really fun. I look forward to continuing the conversation. As far as what you do and what you have to offer the community, how can people reach you?
Yeah, at the moment, the best way to reach me is by finding me on social media. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on LinkedIn.
Okay.
And, the algorithms can be kind of finicky. So maybe like post a comment or something in one of my posts and then reach out and DM me. That is the best way at the moment. Hopefully in the long run, I'll have like a website that you can go through. My other one, the one I had, is a little janky right now, so it needs to be. I don't even want to put it up because it's like, like it's there, it's got information, but I need to clean it up and stuff. So for now, the best way to reach out to me is directly. The ways I can help you are, really mostly anything related to like systems, automation, or AI in your business. If you're needing like a funnel set up, you're needing automations around that, things like that, that's really my bread and butter. I've been working as a software engineer the last 11 years. So all the systems and automation stuff is like, I'm super familiar with that. I'm particularly like learning more and more about the AI piece. So like if somebody needed help with, let's say, voice AI for inbound calls. That's an area that I'm actively pursuing and learning about right now, because I see that as a huge value add for businesses with their inbound leads or with their support calls. That's going to be a huge time saver. I think it'll be overall a benefit to people's performance as a team. And also, I think you could also improve your customer satisfaction and reduce how many calls you're missing. So that's, I think, a big promising field that I'm really focused on. And if that sounds interesting to you, then definitely reach out to me. I'd love to see if I can help you set one up for your business.
That's awesome. We should definitely do a follow-up in a couple of months and see how that's coming to fruition. So you've shared, a good bit about what you can do and you do already, within the community and otherwise. What do you need? So you've shared what you have. What do you need? What kind of deals would you like other people to bring to you?
Yeah, at the moment, I'm primarily focused on doing like project-based work for folks. In the long run, though, I'm very interested in business acquisitions, like I said before. So, if you were acquiring a business and you needed a technical partner then I would be interested in potentially working with you, depending on who you are and what the business is. If you already have a cash flowing business and you need to bring on a technical partner to help scale, let's say you're not acquiring, you just already own the business. I'd be also open to considering those opportunities as well.
Oh, those are great points. Absolutely. Just good places that you can plug in. Well, I'm glad that you made time for this today. I'm really looking forward to revisiting it in a few months and kind of hearing how things evolve with what's going on in the world of AI, because it definitely does move at the speed of light. There's no question about that. So, good stuff for sure. Thank you again for making time to join, and looking forward to continuing the conversation next time. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you for having me, Regan.
My pleasure.